Yeah, we got soul satisfaction.
Hey man, Greg Lyons from Red String Theory. Thanks everybody for tuning in to the Jesse Lee Falls podcast. Greg is a bass player, guitar player, singer-songwriter. Greg's band and my band, we've done a couple gigs together. They're very funky, jazzy, fusiony, and so we get along just because our styles of music get along, and that's always a cool thing, man. Because the cool thing that I really like about coming in contact with new musicians is just like as soon as we met each other, it was kind of like, I kind of feel like I've known this dude forever.
Yeah.
It's like, so there's a like-mindedness there.
Absolutely.
And it's like, it's that you don't always come in contact with that, but definitely. And then seeing what style of music you guys were doing, and it was like, oh man, we're gonna do shows together.
Yep.
So it's like, I already automatically just knew. So I've been trying to get you on the podcast for a while because I also know that you at some point, I heard that you started a record label. I have that in common. I started a little vanity label in Sacramento, and we started off just because I was making my little home CDs, and then we started our little publishing company through ASCAP, and we just slowly just started, through the micro process, slowly building, and then eventually we were like, hey, we should be really pretentious and delusional and call ourselves Infinity 12 Records, and we'll just go under like this little vanity record label, because we already had a little vanity publishing company, so it's like, vanity it is. So, but it was like through these little almost fictitious entities that we were creating, it was like, wait a second, like we are being pseudo professional, aren't we? And then I started finding out that, some of my heroes, this is kind of how a lot of my heroes did it. So that was very validating.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, cool. Maybe I'm not as delusional as I maybe think I am. Wait, yeah, whatever. If you were delusional, how would you know it? But it's like, just through those little processes of like, slowly trying to grow something. And then eventually getting a band together where I was able to go out and play, and I'm always talking about the ins and outs of it is hard to really make money doing this, because if you're playing clubs have a certain ceiling. They're only gonna pay so much, if you can get a guarantee.
Yeah.
And then you got the door, and you got other ways that you can branch out. But when you're doing the door, then it's like, okay, well, now it's really up to you to fill the place, and promoting is hard. If it wasn't hard, we would all be doing it, man.
Yeah.
We'd all be doing it really well,
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, as a band leader, as somebody who's, tried to create a record label, and you're in that, it's a very small minority of us, dude, that are willing to go that far.
Yeah.
So that right there tells me, okay, Greg's kind of like probably like an extremist like me. Are you absolutely like tenacious when it comes to music?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And have been from a very early age.
Yeah.
Started taking piano when I was, I don't know, maybe 10, something like that. Did that for 5 or 6 years, and then started listening to, rock music as I got older, and I found myself not actually practicing Beethoven and Bach anymore. And I had my little, Fisher Price tape recorder on top of the piano, and I was just playing along with songs on the radio or tape cassettes that I had. And I found a love for original music very early on, and have not really, I've played in a couple cover bands, over the years, but
I'm so glad you brought that
my
up.
focus has always been on original music.
Yeah, so I'm not even kidding you. I had 3 questions for you, and that was the third one, which was
Sorry.
Yeah, no. I'm so glad you brought that up. I mean, that's really weird how, like, I mean, I just said we were like-minded, and it's like, there it is. I mean, you're literally answering the question I was going to pose. Yeah, what is it about, because I'm that way. I don't value the cover band thing, and I understand, like, you know, the big argument to being in a tribute or a cover band is, especially the tribute band thing, is that, you know, well, that's how you can really make a lot of money doing it.
Yep.
And you know, it's like, I know I'm gonna piss some people off.
Well, look, there's 2 sides to it, right?
It's like, if you're doing it for the money, that's a good way to do it, and you can beeline yourself to the dough.
Yeah.
But here's the problem, is that if you're gonna do it for money, it's hard to do it for money and then turn that into art. But I think that it's easier to do it for the art, and then you can eventually, hopefully, monetize that.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't think that you can get to a place of the art through, like, well, let's just be in a tribute band so we can go play casinos and make the bank. And it's like, yeah, I mean, that's, you know, I understand that there are some musicians that love certain bands so much that it really is an homage.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's the other side of the coin.
Yeah, exactly. And I do understand that, but, you know, being in a band and all the energy and time that it takes to really get a really solid sound, I can't help it. I want to put all of that energy into an original sound, because I think that's where the value is, and I think the value is in the art, because that's I think that's where you're getting your most fulfillment. I mean, I can't get fulfilled. Somebody asked, I was talking to a bass player like 3 or 4 years ago, just before COVID. And yeah, like I guess almost 5 years ago now. Just before COVID, man, this guy was talking about playing with me, and he was asking me what cover tunes I do. And I had kind of fallen back into where I was learning a bunch of Satriani stuff. And I mentioned it to him, and he was like, dude, we should do a Satriani tribute band. And I was like, no, because I mean, yeah, I can do like 1 or 2 songs in a whole night, but like to do a whole night of that stuff,
Yeah.
I'm like, no, like, what are you doing to me, man? Yeah. Like, you know how much work, and I'm gonna be out there playing the same clubs I'm already playing. Like, so now I have to work 5 times harder to like get paid the same amount. Like, come on, man. He was like, no, dude, like, nobody's doing Satriani tribute. And I was like, yeah, I know. I mean, that's a nice little niche, you know. But I was just like, I can't do it, because even though he's like one of my biggest heroes, I'm just like, I can't do it, dude. I just feel like that's such a cop out, such a sellout.
Yeah. Well, it's gotten even more complex in recent years. I mean, the rules and laws around copyright have always been there, but I don't think they were as heavily enforced as they were coming out of COVID. And so many venues are either closing up or they are not doing live music anymore, specifically because they don't want to pay
performing rights
organization fees. And it's unfortunate. I mean, I get that, you know, it's not cheap. It's thousands of dollars a year. And if the venue can't justify that cost by making it up through ticket sales or drinks, food, whatever, then they'd rather just not deal with the hassle. So I think bands like ours, performers like us, are in a very unique position because we own our publishing, we own our copyrights, and we can go and perform at any venue at any time, and not have to worry about that.
Yeah, exactly.
And unless you start, you know, getting your stuff, you know,
if you're getting it on
published through ASCAP or BMI or whatever.
Well, I mean, so like I'm affiliated with ASCAP, but that's because, you know, I was getting into sync licensing for a second, and I was getting all my ducks in a row to start submitting to film licensing companies. And, you know, I think that's where those organizations, that's where, you know, that they need to stay in their lane. And I think that's their lane.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And they should really kind of just stay out of they should probably stay out of the live music part of it, because I don't think that I would be interested to see what percentage of the live revenue is comparatively.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's probably a very small fraction.
Oh yeah.
I mean, okay, sure, all the, you know, those organizations are really kind of there to when you start getting into them. Yeah, they're supposed to protect all of us as songwriters.
Yeah.
But they're really geared to protecting the big names.
Sure.
Because if you're an artist who isn't collecting royalties, and if you're just not set up to where you're, you know, if you got a song that was being played somewhere and it was actually collecting revenue,
yeah,
and you weren't set up through, you know, CD Baby or whoever, or through ASCAP for that matter, what will happen is that those, whether they're micro pennies or not, if they start adding up, if you don't claim those in I want to say 3 years, they go to what they call a black box. And then that money sits in this black box, and it can sit there for a couple years, and if it's not claimed, it gets redistributed back to the majors. Yeah. So that's how the rich get richer. So that's the 1% there.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I know that's, you know, I think that in order for it to work for the clubs, they have to focus on, okay, well, we're going to go with original bands that aren't affiliated with you, and I think that's a really good way for them to get around it. Because obviously they're doing that because they're not making enough revenue.
Yeah.
And they just want to squeeze everybody. It's like, yeah, that's really great. Squeeze the little guys that don't make anything. That's great, you know, and then and now squeeze the owners of the establishments to the point where they have to just stop having live music altogether. So it's like, that's really great, you guys. You're really good at being, you know, purveyors of music and musicians. Yeah. It's like, no, you're the anti-musician. You're the antichrist of.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, the pay-to-play thing is definitely that's for the younger generation, man. That's the rite of passage. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
You do it once or twice.
As exploitive as it is.
Yeah, you do it once or twice, and then you go, okay, that's not the way to do that. You know, but it's almost, it's like a rite of passage kind of a thing.
But I will say it's very different, that scenario versus what you're trying to do now at Liberty. And actually, like, you're renting a performance space.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to
do something really special.
Well,
that's different than these venues where they're, you know, kind of taking advantage of these unknown bands.
That's exactly it, and that's where I'm coming from. Is like, I want to just approach it like a production company or just a business owner, and it's like, hey, look, man, you get to a point where you get to an age where it's like, I don't have to ask permission.
Yeah,
like, that's what money is for. And if you're going to be a business owner, then entrepreneurship has to do with risk. And so you have to put your money. Yeah, it's an investment. It's a risk. It's a gamble. You put your money where your mouth is, and you try to build something. Now, I'm glad that you brought that up too, because I just got an email back from the Liberty Theater, them basically steering me to the upstairs room that is like,
the McTavish room.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. It seats like 250 or something. And so they're like, well, you know, we're trying to say, you know, and so I was a little bit like, okay, I'm not going to take that personally, but it's like, you know, if I want to rent that big room, why can't I rent that big room? And I felt like it was a little bit undermining, you know, like, well, we don't really know who you are, and we don't think that you're going to be able to basically fill this room. I mean, that's basically how I took it.
Yeah.
You know, they were trying to be polite in the email, but I was, you know, and then they try to like downsize me to the next, and it's like, that's not what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
And the one thing about guys like us that I think is, and the reason why we're so obstinate about original music is because we have an entrepreneur mindset, which is, I have a vision, and my whole life I've been told, yeah, you're never gonna make a fucking dollar doing this.
Yeah.
It's like my obstinance, just like anytime somebody tries to detour me or tries to say no, or you can't do that, it's like, man, I have no idea what kind of like how much gas you're actually throwing on my fire.
Yeah.
You know, it's like so the Liberty Theater might not work out the way that I was hoping. That doesn't mean that there aren't other theaters, you know.
Right.
But I did feel like, what's up with the bureaucratic red tape? Because I'm like, that's not. To me, that doesn't, you know, that I don't know. There was something about it that was just kind of like, I'm not sure what's up with that.
Yeah.
It's like, what, my money's not good here?
Right.
Like, this should be a very simple business transaction. You know, I give you 3 dates, and you say, yeah, this one is open, and then I give you a deposit, and then we go from there. Like,
right.
To me, like, that's how things should work, and it's not. And for all you guys listening, you're gonna constantly be met with obstacles and walls and barriers and people telling you no, and you can use that as an excuse to quit, or you can just be an obstinate, tenacious ass and move forward and keep going.
Well, and sometimes when you hit those obstacles, they reveal themselves as opportunities.
Yeah, right.
Maybe not at that specific venue or with that specific
band,
but you know, life's weird like that.
I took it as like, okay,
one door closes and another opens.
Yeah,
you know?
and that's the way I was taking it. Was like, okay, at first it's like, oh, that kind of irked me, but it was like, okay, wait, I'm gonna think about this for a second. This could be a course correction for me.
Yeah,
this could
how to turn it into a positive.
This could actually be, I could be dodging a bullet here, because the theater isn't cheap. And then I started going, oh well, you know what? I had this place over here and this place over here, and they were kind of like on my, you know, on the back of my, they were a redundancy plan, but as far as like renting those places, like fraction of what the theater would cost.
Sure.
And so I was like, you know, maybe this is just an opportunity for me to start to do something just a little bit smaller scale. Okay, let's do that. And then, you know, one of the places that I'm looking into, we'll set up our own bar, so we'll be able to make money through our own alcohol sales. And it's like, okay, well that actually makes me feel a lot better, because now we're really dealing with an open-ended, like, there's, you know, trying to get.
Well, let me know.
Oh, that's happening, buddy.
Sharky, my wife, is starting her own mobile bar business.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, see, that and you guys were already on my, you know, you're already on my radar, man. I'm planning on getting shows for us.
Yeah.
And I want us to be able to, you know, make decent money, do our showcase sets, but like make some decent money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, man? Like, when I go play,
even though we're not in it for the money.
I know, but we're grown-ups, and we should be making something, because like, and that's the thing. It's not about making. I mean, let's face it. When we're talking about the guys on the macro end of this thing, I mean, those guys are making millions, man. Yeah. And I don't need to make millions.
There is a massive gap between the little band that's starting out or that's playing in small towns like ours.
I just want to be 1,000 there.
There's very little that live in the middle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know, one thing that's always frustrated me, and this is not a diss to venues. I mean, they provide safe, wonderful spaces for artists to be able to showcase their talent.
I call them Insta stages.
Yeah.
It's an Insta stage.
But
just add water.
A lot of people don't appreciate or maybe even understand the amount of time and money that has gone into honing our craft over decades.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I actually kept track of the hours that I spent and the money that I've spent starting the label, starting a recording studio,
that's right,
all the guitars and drums and everything, I mean, it's probably over $100,000.
And
so to walk into a venue that doesn't want to pay you and says, "Oh, just put a tip jar out."
Yeah.
Well, it's borderline insulting.
The difference is that that's the difference between somebody who actually understands that they have value and somebody because and this is another good
and you
way
do have value.
Yeah, you do.
Listeners.
Yeah, but to separate yourself from separate the wheat from the chaff, so to speak, man. If you haven't invested thousands upon thousands upon thousands of hours and dollars into your business, then you're not a business, because that's what investors do. We invest into ourselves when there looks like is there going to be any return? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's obviously not why we're doing it. We're not doing it for the rate of return, but it's
well, and that return has gotten far more difficult to come by in recent years with digital technology.
But if you're somebody who really hasn't put in the thousands of dollars into your business, into your band, and then the thousands of hours it takes into the music, then you're kind of delusional to think that you can go around putting a value or a dollar amount on yourself, because not only because that's just like you and your friends playing in a garage, and your parent and your mom and dad are like, "Hey, you guys sound great," and you're like, "Yeah, we got the green light, you guys. We can go fucking tour America."
Right.
But
that's the dream, right?
But it does. It gets to a point where there's like the guys who have put that money and time into themselves.
Yeah.
Somebody poses some kind of a oh, hey, come play my place. Oh, okay, what does it pay? Oh, we can give you guys $150. It's like, dude.
Yeah, and you got 4 or 5 mouths to feed in that.
It's insulting. Yeah, it's insulting, and anybody who on a professional scale, they're gonna hear that and they're gonna go, okay, thanks for letting me know, because you just know. People like that are the people to stay away from. Anytime I hear anything like, oh, we can give you $150, like, it's like, thank you. I'm usually nice about it, but like, thanks anyway, and then you got to kind of tell them, well, we usually don't go out. We don't go out of the house for less than $400.
Right. Well, it's interesting. I lived and toured in Australia in the late 90s, and in Australia, the music industry is unionized. So you belong to a musicians union, and all of the venues have to abide by the union requirements. So they have to provide, clean and safe sources of power. They have to provide a stage. They have to provide at least a meal.
Are there any downsides to that?
And well, if everybody's on board, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Unless the venue just says, we're not going to do music anymore. But I mean, it was in my opinion and in my observation and experience, I found it incredibly beneficial, and we got, and it was $100 per head per band member, whatever show we played. Right. So it's like you kind of had at least some guarantee.
Yeah.
And and even in the U.S., I think that there's opportunities there to maybe better educate venues. Yeah. And we could do with a little bit of a PR campaign, I think, at the micro level, because I know that's what you're focused on.
Yeah, totally.
Is, getting bands together, not to unionize necessarly, but to
it's
actually
just strengthen numbers.
Yeah,
I would say strengthen numbers, because I look at it the way Pearl, like all the grunge bands did. I mean, that was such a great little thing that happened. I wasn't a huge fan of that scene. I was, I was still listening to like Megadeth and Testament and stuff like that. Like I was one of those guys that had kind of a hard time transitioning over into the grunge thing. But as far as I was concerned, like I think Soundgarden and Alice in Chains were actually the cream of the crop as far as all those groups. But I think we really learned something from them, that they treated it like a community, and they helped each other, and it wasn't about Soundgarden going off just to like they couldn't have been as successful as they were if they hadn't been helping one another and doing shows together, because that's how you build the value, man. It's like I mean, and so
that's how you build a scene too.
A scene. Yeah.
And it is not easy to do.
And what I mean by build value is like build the show value for the audience.
Yeah.
Like actually, like we actually care about the audience. Like let's put let's put like a really great show of 3 or 4 bands together, man, and you keep the goddamn door charge low, like $20, $25. And to me, I think that we could get a lot further. We would feel a lot more satisfied, fulfilled. We'd be making better money. We'd be playing a little bit less. We'd be showcasing our best stuff. I mean, these are, to me, like, those are all wins.
Yeah.
Like, those are all reasons to do it, And the other thing is that if we stay in the bars, I think staying in the bars is a recipe for failure, because there's not enough incentive to just play bars,
right?
And
you're not necessarily building a fan base through bar gigs.
That's right, because
they're just kind of random people that show up.
You're not
to be at the bar, not to necessarily listen to you play.
That's right. And it's like, okay, well, are you going to be a bar band or are you going to be a show band? It's like the difference is that when you're a bar band, you're going in there to play the music that people could maybe not really give a shit less about. They're not even there to see you. So it's like, that is not a show band.
Yeah.
A show band
well,
is
and
like,
how many times have you played a bar gig and you're doing originals and some asshole out in the audience has, play Skinnerd or something?
Every
time. Because that's what, for the most part, people that are going to bars, they want touch tunes, they want a jukebox, they want a cover band, something to get drunk and sing along to, and there is nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, but that's why.
But you got to make a choice as an artist and as a performer on whether or not that's what you want out of your talent or not.
And that's why I'm kind of like, hey, look, you guys in the audience, when you yell out, play Freebird, it just shows how uncreative you are and why you're in the audience. Let the creative people do their job, and you uncreative people just stay in your seat. Was something that I really fought with when I first moved back, or first moved up here, was just how there's a lack of sense of urgency. There's no sense of urgency. It's like, I love Oregon. It's just that it's so damn chill. It's chill to a fault.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, if you even, it's kind of like you kind of get looked down on. It's like, I think that's the way it is over in like Sweden and Switzerland. Like that's why it was such a big thing that ABBA was a huge phenomenon, because of the fact that they came out of Stockholm, right? And it's like they don't, like, there's no such thing as like rising above the rest, dude. Like they have a certain word for it, and I can't remember what it is, but there's a certain word where it's a social faux pas to it's a major faux pas to like brag about yourself. That's one thing, but to even try to like elevate yourself everybody, it's like the, you ever heard of the crab pot theory? So, the crab pot theory is when you're catching crabs, as long as there's more than one crab in the pot, you can leave the lid off because they can't get out.
Okay.
Because when one starts to get out, the others pull them back down.
Interesting. Yeah.
Welcome to the music industry.
Well, all the smaller communities that I've played in, this one being no exception, I've found that where I've had the most success as an artist and as, you know, a business person, an entrepreneur, has really been grassroots level networking.
Amen.
Getting to know
Powerful.
people, getting to know the right people.
That's where it's
not
at.
pushing an agenda, not trying to sell yourself or sell
Yep.
whatever it is you are offering, but
Yeah.
just getting to know people, and that has opened up worlds of opportunity for me.
Yeah, that's really cool because we want to get to a place where we're dealing with quality, and we're dealing with quality people,
Yeah.
we're dealing with like-minded people. We want to have a shared vision of the future.
Yeah.
And it gets lonely. You start feeling like, because, you know, I butt heads with my own band members, man, you know, where it's like, I feel like, okay, well, I gotta, you know, I'm swapping a freaking drummer out every 6 months to a year. It gets really old, man. It really starts making you feel like, wow, I can't even get on the same page as my band members. Why would I ever be able to get on the same page with other bands or anybody else in a business situation for that matter? It's like, am I broken? What's going on? And it's like, no, actually.
Every band in the world is broken.
Well, actually what it is that
it's just the nature of it.
And it is the one person who's actually doing the majority of the work, right? And the one person that's trying to keep everything together, but you just, the people who aren't really putting that much energy in, they end up being the problems. It's just like, okay, and you know, you have to be able to cut those people loose, because it's just like, that's, you know, again, man, some people are trying to be in a band, some people are trying to be in a business. I'm trying to discern, you know, use discernment to see who's trying to be in a band, who's trying to be in a business. I don't want the people in a band. I don't want the band people, because those are people who are just like, they want to get drunk at practice. They just want to have fun. It's just about having fun.
Right.
It's like, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, I don't even live life that way.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have fun in life, but is life fun? No.
It has its moments.
Yeah. But is it no, it's like, this wasn't like created for us to just have fun. I mean, Jesus, I don't know, man. Like, it's just, it feels like a very shallow, immature way to approach music. And when you get into your 40s,
It's different.
it's like, dude, I can't keep acting like a kid.
Yeah.
I
Well, we all started out wanting to do it for fun, right? When we were teenagers or whenever you started. And over the years, once you realized that, wow, I've got something here. I actually have some talent and people seem to enjoy my music. Then all of a sudden, that entrepreneurial part of your brain kicks in. And you try and take it as a band leader. You would ask me this question earlier, and you know, as a band leader, I think it's a difficult thing to navigate when you're dealing with a bunch of different personalities, and people are all in a band or in the industry for their own personal reasons, and are looking to get something out of it that benefits them or makes them feel good or puts money in their pocket, whatever it is. And you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Oh God, no.
Somebody's got to step up at some point, you know, and manage the business of the band, book shows, get marketing materials created.
That's how I know.
Manage finances.
Yeah.
You know.
And that's how I know if I want to even deal with a person. If I start talking about business talk at all, and they get kind of cringy on me, I'm just like, you're out. Because I'm not dealing with immature. I'm not here to deal with immature adults who are in Peter Pan mode.
Yeah.
You know, these are just, a lot of these people are just people who are absolutely unwilling to grow up because they don't know what real sacrifice is. They've never really sacrificed anything for anybody. But anyways, one thing I did want to ask you, I wanted to ask you, so what's one of the biggest obstacles that you tend to deal with as not just a band leader, but being in a band and just, you know, I guess being a band leader, but...
I think, I mean, I hate calling myself a band leader. The last several bands that I've been in, I've tried to approach it in a democratic way, where each member had a voice, both on the business side of things, but also in the creative process. You know, and I think that approach can work really, really well if you have the right mix of people and you share, you know, at least some common vision of what the music's going to be and what you're going to, you know, outfits you're going to wear on stage, whatever.
How many times have you seen that combination actually work?
Me personally, took 3 times.
Yeah. So,
And,
see, I'm not taking crazy pills, everybody.
30-year career, like actually doing music, at some points as a full-time profession, others as a part-time, you know, side hustle. But only 3 bands or artists that I've played with in my 30-year career, I've had that magic.
Yeah.
And man, when it's good, it is good.
Yeah.
But the major obstacle there is that because it's sort of this free form, you know, everybody has a voice approach, it can be challenging to
get anything done or to make a decision. To
make a decision or to kind of channel that creative energy into a, you know, business model or a product that you can take out to the masses.
What if it's a situation where it's, you know, it's literally just one person that doesn't agree? Does the majority get the rule? Or does it have to be...
You know what? It's...
like, well, everybody has to be on the same page, otherwise we don't move forward.
So, again, I think my experience... See, I don't have the tolerance or patience for that kind of stuff. I'm like, whatever, like... I think that the most important thing in any band, in any relationship, in any business arrangement is having an open line of communication.
Yeah.
Giving people a platform
sure
to discuss their frustrations, to discuss things that they would want to do differently, or, you know, I've seen so many bands break up because, you know, there's one person in the band that, you know, they got into the band with this agreement that they were going to play a certain style of music or a certain set list of songs, and then they get bored with it, and all of a sudden they want to do something else and try and introduce something into the mix that doesn't really fit in the mix.
Yeah, amen.
And but I think it's important to allow band members to have that voice. But at some point, you've got to get with the other group members and say, like, do you guys want to do that? No, we don't want to do that.
Yeah.
All right, so look, we talked about it, and, you know, that's not the direction that we want to go in. And then at that point, it's the individual's choice of whether they want to continue having fun, making money, performing, whatever.
Right.
Or go their own way and start their own bands, doing what they want to do, you know?
Yeah.